If only there was a magic way, a magic word, a magic something which could make it possible to just jump into a picture. If only I knew the theme tune of the Star Wars movie. Here we are, the little delivery unit waiting to cross the road, but they're being patient. They must know somehow that a tram's coming, but always one suicidal. No, he knew there was no traffic coming. And another one is manoeuvring to cross the road as well, while the third one perhaps is out of electricity. Posty, the postman, is going to be out of work. He already is in Tallinn, I guess, because these little chaps are taking over. Better watch where I'm going. I don't want to get run over myself looking at these cute little things. Somebody's trying to help them. Well, now, there's been a bit of a mystery about the name of the place I'm staying at, Fat Margaret's. What does that mean? Is the owner a fat lady called Margaret or Margarita? Is the owner's wife a fat lady called Margaret or Margarita? I don't think so. It'd be a bit of a coincidence actually, because the truth is out now. While I was hoping there might have been a legend which went something like 200, 300, 400 years ago, there was a very rotund street walking lady called Margarita who now haunts the Old Town streets, or maybe a pie making baker called Margarita who liked her own produce a little bit too much. The truth is a bit more bland, but I suppose nonetheless interesting, because it must have a rich history. And it's been staring us in the face, staring me in the face, for days. Here is the real and original Fat Margaret. That's right. Barrel-shaped tower, part of the defensive structure of the medieval wall around Tallinn, or Reval as it was called then. And yeah, it's a major gateway here to the side of the tower, which would have faced out onto the Baltic Sea, the sea coming up pretty close to where I'm standing now a few hundred years ago. And observers on watch would have been looking all about for marauding Swedish fleets or Danish fleets, or even, I suppose, Russian fleets, although the Russians probably found it easier to come overland, as did the Poles. So yeah, there is Fat Margarita, Fat Margaret. You can go in if you wish to. There's a rooftop something, there's a canopy across the top. So yeah, mystery solved where there wasn't really a mystery. Now, what I'm planning to do today is to have a little walk, get a sneak preview of what will come on a later walk, the Old Town. I'm particularly interested in looking around the western side of the Old Town, because that's where the walls are best intact, best preserved, most intact. Yes, that's what I meant to say. So let's go and take a closer look. I'm going to walk through the inviting gateway and then take a sharp right and see where that leads to. Come on. Here's some of the history of the Great Coastal Gate. Oh, well, there's a surprise. I was looking at a map thinking I was going to hang a right. And maybe I can still just sneak in if I'm lucky. See, whether it's a paper map or Google Maps, they're not going to tell you about things like this. But never mind. We've got away from the more noisy tour groups and the routes both they and individual tourists would take normally if they were having a walk around the old town, just to see the equally interesting architectural features and layout of what was once the perimeter wall area of the town. So there are many very attractive buildings in the old town, but I like to save the best to last if I can. And by walking around the perimeter wall, you do get a different perspective. Although here, as you can see, it's going to just bring me out onto a road. So I'm going to tuck back in here, go a little deeper into the old town. Bit of a shaky picture right now because it's definitely a very cobbled area. And not entirely pedestrianised, as you can see. There are vehicles which have access to the old town, but thankfully in most areas I think cars are to a minimum, and if you're on foot you can get around the place. An old Ukrainian Greek Catholic. Oh, I'm reading the top, I'm trying to make out the top bit. And there is written in plain English below, Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. 14th century. So the Ukrainian Greek Catholic community has been here for many hundreds of years, established in Tallinn. And what I'm going to do now, if I can, is step outside to follow the line of towers which are coming up. So 600 years ago, plate or plate torn, plate tower was first constructed. There were 3 embrasures for artillery and a fireplace in the lower defence floor. The toilet was built as a garderobe, danska in brackets, a Danish toilet. Perhaps. And here it is today. It's the beginning of a garden by the looks of things. That's how it looked on the map I saw. And here at the entrance to a park, we have a layout which shows the gardens and the towers with their names, which is nice. I am here. And we've got Koismäe torn, Lohenscheide torn, Nunna de Taguna torn, Koidula torn, and I think a few more besides. So there's one just peeking above the foliage, and here we can get a little bit better view of some of the towers. Dwellings have been built in to the wall. I'm sure they go for a pretty penny if they ever come up on the market. And the park itself, perhaps not an extraordinary feature of Tallinn, but a nice change all the same if you want to get away from the bulk of the tourists. Koismäe Reeperbahn Tower. Now there's the famous Reeperbahn, of course. Should we read too much into this? Is this really where the non-existent, legendary, mythical Fat Margarita of my imagination set up a bordello? I suppose I could rewrite history, but I don't think I'll bother. Too many other people interested in doing that these days. So, this tower began in the 14th century, even older than the previous tower we looked at. And back in the park, we've almost got it exclusively to ourselves at the moment. I did think it might be a little bit of a haven. Not that tourists wouldn't come here, not that locals wouldn't come here. It's not a secret that it exists. But that said, a lot of people want to do a quick walking tour, and if they're visiting Tallinn, they're going to set their priorities. And if they're limited for time in particular, they will be wanting to try and get the sort of highlights as fits their taste. So that will probably involve sitting down somewhere as well as walking, stopping for a drink, an ice cream, lunch, or a late breakfast, relaxing in the Old Town Square, which is very attractive and it's going to be popular as well as a bit pricey, of course. But it may not allow a lot of tourists the time to explore around this side, the Western Wall, with what for me is its more interesting historical relevance. This place was all about defence, of course, and it had to be, because 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 years ago, it was a matter of, if you've got something other people want, they're going to come and try and take it off you. No different to today. You know, you've always got to keep one eye out and keep touching your pocket or double checking where you put your wallet, where you think you put your wallet, and that it's still there. Back then the stakes were even higher, and somebody needed to be up there in the towers keeping an eye out to see if an army was about to come and invade, or a navy.